procedure to your left. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Oh, what's that? Joan, do you have roll recorded? Right. We're going to go right to number 3. We're going to go to number 3, Superintendent's Report. Mr. Reinhardt.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to mention to the board that the district has received a proposal from Tetra Tech. We're one of 4 districts in the country to receive this proposal for free consultation services regarding our safety and emergency planning. And the contract, the revised contract, I believe you've all received. And I would just encourage the board to support that because we will be on August 14th, I believe. We're going to be participating in an exercise, a tabletop exercise through the leadership of Northampton Community College and Tom Bernowski. And that exercise is focused on a weather emergency drill. It will include lots of our personnel. We look forward to the experience and using it as an opportunity to grow and to critique our performance. Tetra Tech, who happens to be one of the leaders in emergency planning, development, and consultation, Tetra Tech will be in the room and with us and evaluating us at that time. In addition to that, they're going to take a look at all of our emergency plans in the district and review those with us and see if there's any ways that they would suggest that we improve those plans. So it's consultation services that I think are going to be extremely valuable to us in the future. So I would urge the board to support that contract proposal, and I believe that our solicitor had a chance to look at it. The other thing on there is a child care survey report and the results, and I do have those. However, I would like to wait till August. One of the things that I think is important for us to note is that we sent the child care survey out to parents throughout the community at the end of school. We've collected those results and we've taken a look at those, and I'd like to share those with the board and with the public. Our intent was never to offer child care opportunities this quickly, for starting the school year. Quite frankly, I don't think we could possibly do that even if we had all the resources ready to go. It would be difficult for us because there's a lot of planning involved, I'm sure, as all of you can understand. But those results are interesting. I'll share them with the board and see if there's an interest on the part of the board to explore the an expansion, well, not an expansion, but a start of child care, district-run child care before and after school, once we take a look at possible costs and so forth. So I'll have that ready for you next month.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. We're going to go to number 5, reports. IU20, Ms. Price.
Sorry. Well, I attended my first meeting and basically spoke about the budgets, and I know that later on it's going to be talking about IU20, so I won't say too much more because it's we're going to be talking about it more during the night. So that's basically it for that. But I will go for the next part, for the library. And, oh, sorry, I do have stuff for you. Hold on. Just a little pamphlet for everybody. And it just says the 20 special ed resolved departments, and it talks about child-parent interaction and therapy grants and family, just things that are going on in the IU. So I'll pass these out later. Next thing, like I said, if we go to B, the library one, because it's next, it's almost done. The summer program, and anyone who participated got a shirt like this. And there were lots of other prizes too for participating in the library program. And, sorry, I guess, and it ends on, sorry I misplaced where I put that, but the summer program ends in just next week. So there's only one more week, and just check out what's going on at the library. I'm sorry, no, that takes about everything there, I just sat down.
Thank you.
Sorry.
CIT, Mr. Obie, Mr. Snyder, or Mr. Vandenberg?
We introduced 2 new board members to the CIT Operating Committee from here in Easton. We've got Mr. Obie and Mr. Snyder. Other than that, it's been pretty quiet in the CIT world, so no report other than our new appointments. Congratulations on your seats.
Thank you, Mr. Vandenberg. Community College, Mr. Fainal.
No report this evening. We don't have our next meeting until the middle of next month.
Thank you. We don't currently have a representative for the foundations, the Eastern Schools. I'm going to appoint that this evening. Letter F, Charles Schrin Science and Technology Initiative, Mr. Vandenberg.
We've been monitoring progress of the interchange. Anybody who commutes 33, sorry for all of the traffic and things that we've been causing. Our next meeting, and I don't want to get the date wrong, is September 8th? August 8th? October 8th. I knew it was 8 something. Next meeting will be in October to continue on a discussion and, utilizing that great resource that we have.
Thank you. Legislative, Ms. Leonard Elvison.
At this time, I think the most important thing that I wanted to put out was that PSBA will be having their October legislative meeting, and we'll need to appoint someone for that. In the meantime, I want to make sure everyone got, and if you didn't, I will forward it, a PSBA survey to take that is prioritizing the platform that we would like to see go forward for the 2015-16, which they will be voting on in October. And then there was a email that came across regarding recent legislation that it revolves around the sale of food items in school districts during the school day. So I just want to bring everybody's attention to that so that if anyone has some interest or concerns regarding that they would pay attention to that legislation and bring it to the table for discussion. And I think that's it.
Thank you. EAEA, Ms. Miles, do you have?
Good evening. My name is Julia Miles, and I'm the new president of the Easton Area Education Association. I just wanted to introduce myself to those of you who don't already know me. I'm starting my 16th year teaching Spanish here at the high school. Last year was a contentious year for all of us, but we ended the year with dialogue and cooperation. This year will be a year of adjustments for many of my colleagues as they transition into new positions. But we're all professionals, and we'll do what we need to do to achieve our ultimate goal, which is the same goal of everyone in this district, which is to provide the best possible education for all of the children in the Easton Area School District. I look forward to working with all of you to achieve this goal. Thank you.
Thank you. And Helen does not have a report today. Before I move on to number 6, I apologize. I wanted to mention something at the beginning, and I forgot. As some of you might have seen in the newspaper, there was a fire on 4th Street a couple days ago. One of the people affected was our student who just graduated this past summer. She just had a baby and lost everything. If anybody is getting rid of anything, we're looking for toddler clothes size 3T for top and bottom, and toddler shoes size 9. You can drop them off at the administration building, and we'll make sure she gets them, and it is for a boy. Thank you. Moving on, there are no standing committee reports, as we did not have a committee meeting in July. We're going to go to number 7, public to be heard on agenda items only at this time. Excuse me, sir, before we do that, I want to add 2 addendums to it. Do you have the papers on you? Just so, we have 2 other things that are going to be on the agenda. They can be spoken on as well. Number 10, under Personnel Matters, we're adding letter T, appointment of assistant to the superintendent. And under number F, Finance, letter H, Food Service Agreement. We're adding those 2 to the agenda. So if you have something to discuss on agenda items, those 2 things are now added. And we will begin public comment on agenda items.
I have to sign in, correct?
Yes, sir. Please state your name and where you're from.
Good evening, and thank you. My name is Jamie Mitchell. I'm the chair for the Strong Foundations Charter School Coalition. Before I start, I'd like for all the members in the room who support the charter school to please stand up and be acknowledged, please. Thank you. Say again? Oh, you can't hear me. Okay, I apologize. So thank you for coming tonight, and I appreciate it. My name is Jamie Mitchell. I'm the Charter School Coalition Chair. I joined this group about a year ago to help provide a different path of excellence to the children I know I'd probably never be able to meet, but I know depend on us to do the right thing for their sake and for their future. I was asked recently why I do this, why we do this. It takes up so much time. How are we getting paid? Are we funded by outside groups? This is the one that kind of made me laugh the most. They said that the Koch brothers are actually paying our bills for this. This is not our fight, so why do we do this? I was raised by a devout Catholic and a card-carrying union member in New York City, and I know the benefits of unions, teachers' unions and the like. I know the benefits of choice, and I know the benefits of a good education. 3 things that were drilled into me by my mother at a very early age. Education is a right. Education, getting good grades, getting a good education is the expectation of our family. And education is the one thing no one can take away from you once you have it. Second thing she drilled into us was, to whom much is given, much is required. And never forget where you come from. When asked to help, never hesitate to help. Last but not least, treat all as you would want them to treat you. The members of this coalition are not getting paid. I want that to be clear. We're not getting paid. We do this simply because we're concerned about the students in our community. We're concerned about the future of those children. We did hire a consultant to make sure we give you a high-quality application. When this application is approved, we will hire the right group of administrators and educators to run the school in accordance to the standards of the state and the standards that we expect them to. So why do we do this? By the time most students reach the 11th grade in Easton, the proficiency level for most students is less than 70%. For those black, brown, and poor students, it's below 40%. 40%. Half of this room would be doing less than what we expect them to do. In science, poor black and brown students are performing at 15%. 15% proficiency level. How can, as adults, we simply stand by and do nothing about that? This is why we're here today. We gave you a proposal because we want that to change. You're going to tell us you're doing everything in school based on our application, and yet the numbers simply don't match up. We ask for information, and we get no information from the school indicating that you guys are doing what you say you're going to do. What we did get was some information about the high school, but at the high school, it's too little, too late. I understand this is a financial issue for you and not a truly educational concern. It is what it is. I'm sure there are parents in here that don't want this charter school to happen because they see it as yet another burden to the school district. I get that. I suspect that when they start to look closer into their numbers, they may start to look at the possibilities of charter schools in their areas to help fix their problems. It is what it is. I look forward to your decision, and we will act accordingly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is David Kane. I am the head of engineering for Teva Pharmaceutical. I've been an engineer for 30 years. I'm getting my doctorate degree in leadership, and my dissertation is on the importance of STEM and the impact it's going to have on this country, literally. I'm going to share with you, I have a 250-page dissertation that I'm writing. I'm not going to read you the entire dissertation, but in 4 minutes, I'm going to share with you something that my chair said to me about research. Research is not based on opinion, it's based on fact. So what I'm going to share with you in 4 minutes are facts, and I want you to pay really close attention to these facts. Minority engineers today represent 12% of the engineering profession. That's a fact. The number of engineers that graduated that were awarded degrees in the year 2010 was less than 10,000. The literature that I've studied shows that the U.S. history is filled with achievements by minority engineers. Play-Doh, nectar and fruit, the USB port that we all use on our computers, the artificial liver, birth control pills, color television, railroad telegraph, the golf tee, traffic light, and many other inventions came from a minority engineer. And there's numerous studies that I could cite here all night about this country is going to have a shortfall of engineers to meet its future needs. The shortage may show that the adoption of new technologies in the U.S. will force businesses to rely on foreign engineers. I travel around the world, and I see that this country brings foreign engineers into this country because we don't have enough. In 35 years, this country will shift to being brown. And I can tell you that 70% of the engineers that are in this country today are not brown, and they will retire. And it's a fact that our schools are not producing enough students to enter into the pipeline to achieve those engineering degrees. This country produces how many? I would dare ask you, how many engineers do you think we produce in a year? Take a guess. 72,000. You know how many China produces? Over 300,000. And India produces just as much. We have a problem. There's a fact here that says that engineers are critical to the United States. Very critical. About 2.7 million engineers work in engineering-related occupations in the United States, and more will be needed in the future as the growth rate for engineering jobs is forecasted to exceed 10% by the year 2020. That's 6 years from now. There's something called KTI, which is Knowledge and Technology Intensive Industries. The United States is currently number 1, but China is coming up very fast. Historically, the majority of technical patent applications in this country and the world came from this country. But we're no longer number 1 now in producing patents. Japan is. I went to Japan, I went to China last year. Their kids are studying math and science every single week. They get no time off in the summer, and they're turning these kids out into droves. And we argue about whether or not we need a STEM-related school. In 35 years, we will look back on this day if we don't do this, and we will regret that we hesitated on this decision. I work with engineers every single day, and they retire every single day by the droves. I could talk to you all night about the importance of STEM, but I just want to leave you with this. Our children represent a message that we will send to a future that we will never see. Think about that. This country was built on innovation, on the great minds of science. The things that you have in front of you today, there was an engineer that built it. This country's going to change. Young minority students today are not attending STEM-related courses. You know why? Because they're not available. They're rare. That's why President Obama says he actually passed an act to arrive, to do something about this significant problem we have. So I implore you, I ask you to think about this thing. And remember, when you go home tonight and you get in your car, you remember that it was an engineer that designed it. In 35 years, where will that engineer come from? I'd like to say that that engineer came from the Easton area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to be heard?
Good evening.
Can you please sign in and state?
I did sign in.
Can you state your name?
Yes. Good evening. I've practiced that. My name is John Kennedy. I'm from the community. I'm not sure this is exactly the appropriate moment for what I'm going to say. But first, I would like to say congratulations to the school system for the scholarships that at least 2 of their students have gotten in the last summer. And say that actually indicates that and I think there are probably many other scholarships, and I think the school system should probably make an effort to compile this information and get it out. But it kind of indicates that for the top students, the system does an excellent job. But I have actually 2 suggestions for the rest of the students that I'm sure will not completely satisfy the needs of the people making the other presentations tonight. But I believe there's certain strengths to a large school, and one of them is that you can sequence your math courses, broaden that sequence, and also ensure by proper scheduling and scheduling different levels of math courses in the same periods, you can pretty much ensure that every student will be in a math course every year that they can succeed in, and they will have 4 years of improvement in math, which speaks to one part of the STEM equation. I thank the superintendent. I did send a letter yesterday to the superintendent. I thank him for his early reply and referring it on to Ms. DeVitro. And I'll continue that conversation. But I think to actually implement a program where you wanted to put every student in a math course that meets the needs of that student in that particular year, I think it's probably going to require a system commitment, because it also requires change of, with the counselors and teachers, and being committed to that sort of process, and being willing, frankly, to move people around when they're in the wrong place. The second thing that I continue to recommend is computer programming, introduction to computer programming for every single student in the school system, starting at the 3rd grade level. The programs are available now free. There's a Carnegie Mellon program called ALICE. There is the Scratch, developed at the MIT Media Lab. These programs are available. You have some really excellent people in your department, and this, with effort, this could be done without any real additional cost. And I might put in a plug for your elementary schools. You have some of the finest, best trained elementary school teachers in math that I have ever encountered in my educational career. You have fine, well-trained teachers. I think if you put a little emphasis on math and get them to, form committees of your math-educated elementary school teachers to work on developing a program with math continuity for students, that you can develop really outstanding math programs at that level. You already have outstanding individuals. As I said, my experience with, I was amazed with my grandkids and also my time in and out of schools. They're just really good compared to what I found in my past experience. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard on agenda comments? First one that gets up there goes first.
Hello. Move this, I'm quiet. I'll sign in real quick. Hi. Hello, my name is Marisa McFadden, and I'm a member of the Community Coalition. I'm here for the same reason that each of us is in this room tonight. We want the best education possible for kids in this district, every single one of them. It was just a few months ago that we were able to avoid a catastrophic situation where so many jobs and programs were going to be cut, thereby taking from the students valuable teachers and resources for learning. I believe we really dodged a bullet there. Yet here we are again, only a few months later, looking at something even more devastating and devastating to the district. I'm just going to take this out. What's devastating is a new school funded in large part by taxpayer dollars, and now I feel we're standing here trying to dodge a cannonball. Let's be honest here. The district is essentially broke. It isn't like the beggar on the street broke. It's like the family that lives paycheck to paycheck, praying that nothing happens to their one and only car because that would rock their world broke. Our district can pay the mortgage, its basic expenses, and occasionally see a movie with its kids. But if anything major happened, this metaphoric district family would face utter ruin. And here we are. And honestly, this isn't all just about money. We're a district that has a tradition of pride in its students, pride in its teachers, and pride in the community that it serves. During the ups and downs of this recent school year, nothing was as clear to people as the fact that each partner in this district community has great pride in it and wants to see it thrive. Remember those music students, the Japanese students with their teacher, the teachers who came with ideas on how to balance the budget with early retirement packages? I personally remember seeing the administration and even the school board set out on what amounts to a music tour around the district, helping members of it understand what they were facing and how to help. I watched teachers, administrators, and board members talk everywhere they went about what was really important to this district, the kids. And those same people would stay late, go in early, and meet for the sake of finding a solution and giving these kids a fair shot at a good education. Are we hitting the mark academically? Well, test scores show that we are struggling. That's not unusual considering how financially challenged we've been over the years and how many resources have been cut in that time. If we can't talk about money when it comes to charter schools, then let's talk about achievement. I don't know about your experiences in this district, but from what I've seen in my 10 years of living here, and what I've heard, is that students have overwhelmingly positive and enriching educational experiences here in this district. What is a better mark of having served the whole student, their test scores or their experiences? During the entire time that this district has struggled, the collective experiences of students, parents, and staff have painted a picture of cooperation, perseverance, and determination. I don't hear people talk about test scores on the street, but I do hear about amazing programs, amazing teachers, and moreover, amazing students. I've been to plays in the district, sporting events, PTA-sponsored events, and award ceremonies, and I can tell you that the only thing I've ever witnessed in all of this was pride. Students and families were proud of being a part of the long-standing educational and extracurricular traditions of the Easton Public Schools. So if test scores have lagged in the years of economic turmoil, pride and positive experiences have not. If we can't talk money when it comes to charter schools, then let's talk community. The underlying fabric of this geographic area, Easton, the West Ward, Forks, Southside, and Palmer, is infused with the traditions and accomplishments of this district. What we have in this district is a legacy of community, and that community was strengthened over this year by what we all experienced and what we all sacrificed. I believe that the people of this district deserve a community where school is at the center of our way of life, where all students have the same opportunities and don't have to worry about winning lottery numbers or being the lucky one. If we can't talk money, then let's simply talk community. This community, the EASD, deserves time to gain its footing and experience what can really be gained educationally when not faced with unbelievable financial pressures. I'm already amazed at what's been done in spite of such pressures over the past few years. For this community, I ask that the board please turn down this charter proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Helen Jones, and yes, I am an employee of the district, okay, but I'm here talking as a personal person, and that is, I ask you to please stick to your guns. You voted this down once before. I ask you to vote it down again. This foundation, with its own words, has already stated that the changes that they gave to you the second time around were really insignificant, okay, minor changes. They have also already proven that they can't control their own house. Within the district, we are required to go through background checks. They have already proven that apparently they do not do this. And if they do a really crummy job at it. So if we allow them to come in and take our students, okay, and I'm not even talking finances, I'm just talking protection-wise, protecting our students, because no matter what, they're still our students. They have already shown, in my opinion, that they are incapable of doing this. I ask you to please stick to your guns and once again, reject them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Pete Moran. I'm a resident of Easton. I have two children in the school district in the high school, and I'm a teacher in New Jersey, and I teach technology, so I feel pretty comfortable talking on this subject. Almost 20 years ago, I was looking for a job for teaching, and everybody in my group that I was looking at, you go through and you're trying to figure out which school districts do you want to go to. And 20 years ago, nobody wanted to go to Easton because of the salary guide. It was like, it wasn't there. and you had the people that did go to Easton, you heard you go there for 2 years, then you go off to get to a different school district. And then finally, you know, I didn't even apply to Easton because of that reason. Then when they moved on and they seen it as a problem, the teachers got a better contract, whatever the year was. And then when financially things went wrong, the teachers did the right thing and sacrificed so that people wouldn't lose their jobs. And then the next year, more teachers lost their jobs. I read the article this morning with Marisa McFadden. There's a room for charter schools. There's a room for making things work. But the best way to make anything work is to have your administration, your teachers union making it work together, not having a for-profit private company come in and make a charter school work. It's divisive. It's going to make people work against each other, and it's just not the way that you want to have things done. If you want to have a charter school, and I'm all for STEM, and I think it's great, and I'm all involved with it in my school. And when you look at the numbers are numbers, when you look at the numbers when you're doing, China and India are 5 times the size of our country population-wise, and we're almost producing, they're not producing 5 times the size of engineers moving forward. We're still a very, very good country producing quality education all across the country. The one thing that's happening is people being very negative towards education, and I'm here to say, please don't move forward on a charter school unless you have 100% of your working with your union, who's done a tremendous job of making things work so far with the administration and having it work together. And you can do an awful lot, just what the one gentleman said, of extending stuff within your school district rather than having people, some people get in and some people don't get in, and then you have people just getting negative against each other. It's just not a good way, it's not a good road to go down. So I'm hoping you do turn this charter school down.
Thank you. Mr. Race. Mixing shape, he would have known.
Hi, my name is Mick Davis. I would just like to say a couple things. First of all, there are socioeconomic issues that children of color deal with. That is a given. There are children who are going to be struggling with these things, these socioeconomic issues, and given smaller class sizes and given longer school year, given some of the things that can be done without having to go through a bureaucracy, but changes can be made on the fly, I believe it's very important that we give these children a chance that might not be given to them, not because the teachers are bad, not because the school district is bad, but because there are issues that need to be dealt with that maybe you may not be able to deal with on the level that you have. The gentleman talked about top students. Well, there are top students, but there are also lower students and everything in between. We can look at the top students and say these students are doing well. The school district is doing a great job. But then you're looking at a very minuscule part of the whole picture. There's a big picture out there. There are a whole bunch of kids who are being left behind. I believe that the charter school's job is to focus on it. Money is not being taken by the charter school. I believe the money is being taken by the administration that is in place right now, who doesn't feel that public education is as important. So when they're trying to cut their budget, when they're trying to make their budget right, they're cutting public education. And they're doing it in a way that every school district is struggling. That is not because of the charter schools. The charter schools are trying to now make a step that will allow them to step into that void and fill it. And we must understand that those opportunities are very few and far between. So if a kid's being left behind and we're not able to, the school district is not able to reach out to those kids, then they're getting left behind. And we want to make sure that those kids aren't being left behind. The other thing I want to say is Strong Foundations is about starting them early and giving them a good foundation, making it easier for them to be able to slide into whatever is going on at the high school level or the next level and be comfortable with it, not to be left behind, not to not have the grades to be the top students, because if you don't get it at the bottom, by the time you get up to 10th, 11th, 9th, 10th, 11th grade, you're left behind, and you're going to be left behind every year. It's not going to change. Catastrophic situations. We've had catastrophic situations for the last 4 or 5 years. Teachers, we've lost maybe 100. It's not something that we're happy with, but we can't do anything about it. Strong Foundations is trying to fill that void. We're trying to put in place an opportunity for kids who might normally be left behind to then catch up. Or don't allow them to get behind. Let's give them a strong foundation now so that they won't get left behind when they do come to Easton High School. Test scores may not be being talked about on the street, but the people who make the decisions are talking about test scores. They are looking at those test scores and making decisions based on those those test scores. The flow of money is directly tied to test scores, if I'm not mistaken. So what I would like to say, last but not least, is it's important to give our kids a chance. That's all we're asking. We're not asking you to do anything over and above what you've already been doing, and you've been doing a great job. But there is a void that's not being filled, and we would like to fill that void. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kurtz, resident of the school district, parent of a student. I'm also currently an accountant. I've addressed the board previously on financial matters with the district. I had to pick this up. I'm hearing some really interesting comments tonight from some of the people who've spoken. First of all, the whole issue with money. We just dodged a bullet this past year. Okay, a lot of people may not realize it, but the freeze that we got from the teachers this year is allowing us the breathing room that we need for the next 2 years to absorb the mandated increases in the pension expense that the state is mandating us to pay each year. With that said, every year for the next few years, our school district is facing a tax increase at a minimum of the index. That is fact. You can validate that with Mr. Simonetta or anybody else who has any financial knowledge of finance and the school's financial aspects. So for anybody to say it's not about money, we're already facing maximum tax increases for the next few years, even with the salary freeze that we got. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the charter school in question is planning on 270 students for the first year. Based on a standard student, that's almost $10,000 a year that's going to be shifted out of our budget to the charter school. $2.7 million out of our budget that we now have to pay, we now have to make that up. And we're already facing a minimum of $2.7 million increase next year. Where are we going to come up with that additional $2.7 million to pay for this charter school? Okay, it's numbers. Then, on top of that, when your total per student cost is based on the total students in the district, and now you start siphoning students away to go to the charter school, but yet our total budget at a minimum stays the same, the total cost per student increases incrementally each year, and now we now have to give these huge pay increases to the charter school, not just for their increase in students, but per student. Okay, and that's on our backs, on the taxpayers' backs. My taxes are skyrocketing. My property taxes are huge, and now you expect me to pay for this charter school? The Easton Area School District does a phenomenal job. They provide a great education, some of the best opportunities you talk about. You keep talking about opportunity. The Eastern Area School District has more opportunities than almost any district in the state. Clubs, art, band, AP classes, other extracurriculars. We offer more than anything. What is this charter school going to offer? Is this an art charter school? Is this a music charter school? Is this some kind of specialty? All I heard tonight was 3 people come up here and talk about giving black students a chance. Is this a black charter school? Is this only open to minorities, or are you going to allow everybody in? I didn't hear anything about anybody but minority. To me, that sounds almost discriminatory. You know, white kids fail, black kids fail, Hispanic kids fail, Asian kids fail. That doesn't discriminate. I'm sorry. And as far as the opportunities, you're almost implying that the Eastern Area School District is not trying to do what they can for every type of person in their district. You're almost implying that they are not trying to do what they can for the minority students, but they are for the non-minority. I'm sorry, I disagree with that. My wife taught in this district at one point, and I take offense to that comment. I'm terribly offended by somebody implying that. Now, as far as with the charter school as well, they talk about percentages. Okay, I heard mention of the minority students having a disproportionately high number of students that can't read, write, or do arithmetic. Does your charter school have a formula to identify these students early on? And are you going to pick these students that are most at risk to go to this charter school? Or are you just going to take any, or are you going to take those that qualify based on some type of testing? So now every kid in this charter school are going to do phenomenally, but now you're going to have a disproportionately high percentage of minority students left in the Eastern Area School District that are now not performing to the standards. I mean, nobody's talking about how they're going to choose these students. All I'm hearing about is that it's for minorities. I'm sorry. Based on what I've seen and what I've heard, I don't see any advantage to our district other than financial decimation to our district and the taxpayers that pay the bill. Thank you.
That was good. That was good.
Good evening, everybody. My name is John Roy. I am a parent of a student at the Eastern Area School District. And I'm going to make some puns tonight, so just take it easy. So as a white male in a very nice Forks Township neighborhood, my daughter goes to one of the better elementary schools. She's now in the middle school, and I could tell you firsthand, we've seen there is a social economic separation going on. And I see in this room the reactions of the people who have come up here, that the people against the charter school, typically white people, Anglo-Saxon people that are against it, probably living in nice neighborhoods, don't want their taxes to go up. And then I see other people in this room who probably live on the south side, and they've been crying for years, probably, to do something. My family has looked at charter schools in Allentown, because that's the only ones available around here, unless we want to go to Philadelphia. And there are people who homeschool the children. And those people in Eastern Area School District who are able to get their kids in these charter schools or homeschool, the money is still leaving the district. It's no different. So why are these charter schools in Allentown so booked? Why is it so hard to get into them? Why is there a waiting list that some people are on for years to get in? There's a reason for this. And if you don't do something now, you're going to keep losing people. And these test scores, you can reap the benefits of this charter school. And I believe it. My children know some of these people who are involved in the charter school, and they're very personable and loving and disciplinary at the same time. And I trust them. I've pre-registered my son because we want something different. We don't want segregation. We want some integration going on here. No, it's not all black people. There are white folks who are interested in this charter school. And I believe this charter school will eventually pay for itself in higher test scores and higher incomes for people moving into the neighborhood, higher property values. You may not see it right away. It's an investment, but again, those people who are looking to leave and take the money away and go to Allentown, you can keep them here. People who are looking to homeschool their kids and take that money away, you can at least keep them and reap the benefits of the higher test scores. So I plea to the board here to vote in favor. I know that you guys do want to establish more integration into the school district, and I believe this is a step in the right direction for integration, social economic integration. And I won't mention the black and white issue, which seems to be so plain tonight. You can almost break the ice with it. And I'm a little bit interested in Miss Leonard Ellison here, the vice president. I'm not sure a reason why she has her face covered up, but you know, maybe it's a health issue. It could be a health issue.
Wait a minute, before you applaud, Miss Ellison has a medical condition. If we can move along.
Okay, I assumed it was a health issue, but you know, with the tension in the room, I was a little, you know.
Let's move on, sir.
So, I have 39 seconds. Please give these people a chance. Social economic integration for the Easton Area School District. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Harold Kurtz, and I've been working with the Strong Foundations Charter Group for over a year. I actually wrote the actual application, and part of that process was to do some research on the district, on the community, and also to get to know the people behind us. There are a lot of misconceptions about charter schools, and they were expressed tonight. This issue is not a black and white issue. It never was. Charter schools, by their very nature, are public schools, and in our charter application as required by law, as the board knows because they've had the application, it states very clearly that it's open to all children of all groups without any discrimination towards any group at all. And that's the way it's supposed to be. It's what we want for our children. It's what we want for our schools. So please take that off the table and let's look at what the program is all about. We made a presentation to you a number of months ago, and I want to thank you. You were very professional in how that process was handled. We received your denial, and in your denial you listed a series of concerns. You need to know those concerns were looked at very carefully by our board, by myself, and we sat down with our attorney and we looked at each of those issues to make sure that you get before you a final document that represents fully what the requirements of Chapter 22 of the Charter School Law are all about. We believe we made more than a good faith effort in reaching a conclusion and submitting to you an application that meets or exceeds every requirement of law. Now, you may have some minor quibbles about some of that. That's okay, because that's kind of how this process goes. We get that. We also get that it's a tough decision for you. Believe me, I know it. I sat in a seat that Mr. Reinhardt sat in for 17 years. I get it. And I work with school boards who struggled with budgets and all the other demands of a very wide, huge, diverse community. But you have before you a critical decision to make. You have before you an application that I assure you have it reviewed by our attorneys, by my own experiences of writing these applications for over 10 years, and having had the last 3 approved through, unfortunately, through the appeal process, one including one today. It's unfortunate when we have to go that route because it ends up costing everybody a lot of money and a lot of bad feelings at the end of the day. If the application meets the law, you really have a conundrum because you're kind of forced, despite how people feel, you're kind of forced to vote yes. We don't want you to feel that you're doing something wrong. We have a program that's a longer school day, a longer school year, a program that brings in Project Lead the Way, a nationally recognized program in STEM. It's a program that's going to be integrated with the arts, a program that you've been struggling with to maintain within your own school. It'll have smaller class size. It'll have the intimacy. We'll have 20 maximum in a class. So it's a program that you need to look at on its merits and based on the fact that we believe we have submitted you a quality application, and we urge you to vote yes tonight. And that's all we can say to you. And please, I get very nervous because, like I said, I've been where you are when the conversation goes off the basic topic, and the basic topic is you have an application that meets the law. You need to vote yes, and I thank you.
Thank you. Before we take the next comment, is there anyone in the audience who has a comment not related to the charter school but that's on the agenda? All right, it's a charter school meeting.
My name is Lynn. I actually live in West Ward. For those of you that are from around here, you know that it is the poorest area. It's a difficult area. It's the area that a lot of people from Forks, honestly, don't want to come to. They don't want their children playing with kids where we live. They're afraid, and they say things like, better pack my bulletproof vest before we head out to your house. So we get it. We understand it. It's something that you know, when people, you know what, I'll start with this. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to turn my back, but I know we're to be addressing the board. I get the frustration with the school, and I understand the desire to seek out resources. I understand it, and particularly when you can't fill those gaps yourself, when a parent can't go and get lessons and enrichment and private tutors and all the things that others can. When people ask if I support charter schools, my answer is always that I support choice, but I support options. One of the problems with choice is that it doesn't mean that you can have what you want. I might choose a Mercedes, but the fact is that every day I have to drive a Mazda. We as taxpayers want a board that spends within their means, and yet we do nothing as millions of taxpayer dollars go toward paying the tuition and transportation expenses for schools that often cherry pick their students. They don't have to follow the same rules. They don't have the same rules with regard to teacher certifications, and when they finally were pushed to follow the same rules of testing benchmarks in 2012, oddly enough, only 29% could demonstrate the progress required by law for math and reading. And that is no way to get engineers from Easton. If charters promise better results, and if choice leads to better results, I'm not sure why they lobby so hard to have lower standards than what has to be followed in the schools. Whether you support charters in general, or choice, or this particular application, the thing is this isn't personal. It's us, it's not you. We can't afford you. We don't have the money, and the numbers are the numbers. We understand that you cannot reject based on finances. We understand that part. But the thing is our numbers tell us that the results are not often what we're promised, and the cost formula is unfair. Schools can deny things that we individuals would like to have all the time, but a charter can deny your child. Our schools have to and do serve everybody. There's no lottery, there's no cherry picking, there's no application, there's no audition, there's no let's look at you and see if you fit or you don't fit. I'm not being specific to this application, but one of the problems is that the public school is paid for by everyone and it's for everyone. So it's a wonderful program, I'm sure, but I think that some of us would rather work within our district, within our communities, instead of handing that over to somebody else, try to work from within. And I'm excited about the fact that there are new programs at the high school. There are engineering classes, different things going on, and like I said, I would like to see more working from within than handing it to someone else. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. Probably going to laugh at me a little bit.
Your name, sir?
I'm John Best. I'm sorry. Thank you for allowing me to address you. Won't be long at all. I'm from Phillipsburg, New Jersey. Totally different state, school district, what have you. But one thing remains the same. I stand undaunted on the premise that success is a journey and not a destination. The minute we arrive to a decision, everything that we've deliberated, all of the things we should have considered, all the things we should have gave a second thought to, they're gone. We can't do that any longer. I heard a lot of contesting with regards to what the school offers, the charter school offers, versus what Easton offers. I have friends here. I'm a big fan of most of your basketball players, young high school up-and-coming stars. And I must say that I found Easton to be a reputable city. Looking at this, I don't see where the charter school excludes anyone. I don't see where it doesn't offer arts, literacy programs. It's all right here in black and white. The debates that are going to go on before you, they're timeless. They're going to continue to go on. But I just ask, and I just urge you to please consider all the details. As ex-military, we left no man behind. And it continues today to be the same staple. We leave no man behind. So before you consider any decision, please don't leave anyone behind. And I stand in really in favor of the charter school, although I'm from New Jersey. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Eliza Feltamo. I'm part of the Easton Area Community Coalition. And I'm not really for or against this particular charter school or the idea of charter schools in general. I think wherever there are cracks to be filled, we should try to find ways to fill them. I am in favor of charter schools when they have responsible sources of funding that don't detract from the remainder of the Easton Area School District. And before I go on, if I may ask, what is the selection process for the charter school? Is it lottery? So
once we have, the school is a public school, there is no selection.
So how, but you can only take 270 students.
Excuse me, ma'am. We don't.
I just wanted to clarify.
Right, I understand.
I wanted to know if it was first come, first serve, or if it was lottery. But regardless of how they select, it's 270 students max the first year. And if it's a lottery system, if it's first come, first serve, it plays at the odds, and everyone needs to understand that not everyone will get into the charter school. And I want everyone to think about that. If you support this initiative and your child doesn't get in, money will be siphoned off to the charter school from the school district anyway, and your child then still has to go to the Easton Area School District with resources that now have been further depleted. It's a personal and a public risk to accept this charter school proposal. So my idea is, instead of dividing the students in the Easton Area School District, we should try to unite to make change from the top, from Harrisburg, and by uniting as a community. And it would be wonderful if we could all meet together and discuss how we can make the Easton Area School District better without dividing it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Curtis Johnson. I'm a resident of Easton. And let me just suggest that the problem we're dealing with tonight is one of leadership, or a lack of leadership. We have a school district in crisis, and the leaders of the school district really have not sound the alarm about the crisis the district is in. When you got more than half of the schools failing in a district, 6 out of 10 are failing. In terms of the low-income and minority students, most of those students, by the time they reach the 11th grade, they're not proficient in reading, they're not proficient in math, and the science scores are off the table. So we have a district in crisis, and the leaders of this district have not addressed the crisis. And let me suggest an example of why I think the leaders of this district have not addressed this crisis. Number one, I've heard a lot of comments from the community. Some people have gotten their facts wrong. Okay? Some people have misidentified what the issues are. This is not a race issue. Poor students are failing at the same rate as minority kids are failing. Okay, so it's not a race issue. Okay, the school district has a large budget. Close to $150 million a year is what the school district's budget is. The state has passed a law and said, look, we want you to reprioritize and allocate the funds if the school district is not doing the job it's been hard to do. So if the kids are failing in the district, create some experimental schools, some charter schools, and allocate resources to those schools to see if they'll do a better job. So the issue is leadership, folks. We just hired a new superintendent, and I've had the pleasure of meeting Superintendent John Reinhardt, a very nice man. Very capable man. And so, John, this is not a criticism of you. As a matter of fact, I stand and speak in favor of your leadership. What's missing is you don't have a mandate to address the crises in the district. When you were hired and the other candidates that were being reviewed, I'm not aware that any of those candidates were asked to put together a plan for the board to evaluate to see whether or not you had an effective plan to address the issues the community have been talking about tonight. Okay? So that's not a criticism of you, John. As a matter of fact, John has met with me and others in the community to try to identify what the issues are and put together a plan. But it's not John that's going to solve this problem. It's the board members. It's the leadership of this district that needs to come together and solve this problem. Okay? It's not the community that's going to solve the problem because we're not the experts. We don't know all the nuances around all the issues. But you do. You know where the skeletons are. You know who's failing and who's succeeding. You know where the dollars are. You are familiar with the state law, and you know that a private charter school is not coming into the district taking money away from the district. You know that the charter school that's being proposed is a public charter school organized by the community, okay, a not-for-profit entity. And you know that the dollars assigned to each student that's going to move with that family that elects to go to a charter school is where those dollars are supposed to go. Okay? Each student is allocated $1. And the state has said that, look, Parents, you have the choice. You have options that you can exercise, and you can decide to send your child to a different school, okay, if you're not satisfied with the performance of your district. And so, John, on your behalf, what I want to encourage the board members to do is to give you a mandate to address the problem that's confronting the Eastern District, and that is we got a large percentage of our students who are failing, okay? And we need STEM programs in the school to deal with some of the economic issues and opportunity issues that our country will be faced as we move forward. So, folks, let's not get angry with each other and criticize each other. These are the people who we need to be looking to solve what is a crisis in the Eastern School District. 6 out of the 10 schools are failing. 40% of the minority students, by the time they reach the 11th grade, are performing below proficiency. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Lauren Kindle. I'm a mother of a second grader, and I live in Easton, downtown. I heard one man say the charter school doesn't exclude anyone, but in a way it does, because it can only serve a small amount of students, only 270 students. Not every child will be able to go to Strong Foundation Charter School, and what happens to all the other children? They will all suffer. The money the Easton Area School District so desperately needs will be taken from them. Please turn down this proposal. The charter school benefits a few children at the expense of many children. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Before our next speaker, I just want to be clear. Legally, the board cannot approve or deny a charter school based on race. So legally, we cannot deny or approve a charter school for financial reasons. So I want to make those clear, because we're hearing a lot about race, we're hearing a lot about money. Legally, the board cannot make a decision based on those two topics. So I just want to make sure everybody is aware of that.
Hi, my name is Noah Simmons. I can probably summarize what I'm going to say probably in 2 minutes or less. So I won't be for you long, so I appreciate the opportunity to talk. I stand up here in favor of the charter school. Reason being is I have had the privilege of growing up going to a charter school, a private school. My mother was a city school teacher. Went to the school district, was kind of failing, wasn't getting the attention that I pretty much could have been provided. My mother pulled me out to the schools, put me in a private school, and at that time I was able to accelerate to where I was able to go on to college and get a good education. So, you know, I'm in favor. The reason I stand here is just because my daughter that I'm holding is I want to give her that same opportunity that I was presented from my parents, to give her opportunity to allow for smaller class sizes, more attention to the students. No knock to Easton area. You guys are doing a great job in so many ways, but I'm a Southside resident, Southside resident by choice, because I have a couple of rental properties that I moved into one of my properties. But I'm fortunate that if I want to move to Palmer, other areas, I can do that because of the salary level that I'm making. But there's so many other people in my neighborhood that doesn't have the opportunity to take their child out and give them a better education. So what I'm asking for you guys to just consider, the opportunity for some who are not fortunate enough to move to different areas, to give them the opportunity for the kids to accelerate. And I've heard so many things about tonight, just hearing about the pulling away from the money from the school district, but what I don't hear is that the fact of if the money that's going to get pulled from the school is transferring over for those students. So the budget deficit that they're having is those, because of those students are getting pulled and going to a different area. Now the Eastern area doesn't have to pay for those students. So there really shouldn't be any discrepancy between the budget the school district fell in, because now the school district doesn't have to care for the child's education because those funds are going over to the charter school. So it really shouldn't be no problem with in regards to while we're pulling money from the school district, those money that the school district has was already allocated for that particular student anyways. So just want to tell you, just please consider this application. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We're going to get ready to wrap up public comment. Is there a few more people that would like to, we'll take 3 more people and then we're going to wrap up public comment.
Will you come? You sure? Okay, all right.
Age before beauty. All right.
Put you in the microphone. Do I have to write my whole address out here? Is that necessary?
What is the requirement?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yes.
I do?
Yes.
Who gets to see it?
It goes to the minutes, actually.
Because one of the other people who spoke in reference to it spoke well of the school, and his house was vandalized. So he wrote an op-ed, and his house was vandalized. So I wanted to be very clear about who's going to see that, this information. Okay. Thank you. My name is Philip Davis. I'm an Easton resident. Albert Einstein said this: the world as we have created it is a process of our thinking. It cannot be changed without changing our thinking. Right from the NEA website, the National Education Association website, it reads as such: if the United States is to hold a competitive edge in a rapidly changing global workforce, bolstering the nation's STEM workforce is essential. Which is why President Obama in July announced a plan to create a STEM education program to find 10,000 teachers in the area of STEM. Efforts to improve STEM education, Obama said, are going to make more of a difference in determining how well we do as a country more than anything else that we do here. The U.S. education system, it goes on to read, is not adequately preparing its students for careers that have become the engines behind U.S. global competitiveness. For example, according to a recent report by Microsoft, only 2,100 high schools, public and private, offered the advanced placement test in computer science in 2011, down 25% over the past 5 years. And in most cases, computer science does not satisfy core graduation requirements. The Eastern Area School District, according to your own website, has about roughly 9,000 students, about $147 million budget, and yet 6 out of 10 schools are failing to meet AYP. When you begin to dig deeper into those numbers, and I don't think I have to go into them significantly, you've heard them already, across the board, we've got some challenges within our school district. Margaret Mead said this: never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Why make an investment into the community? We believe that parents want the best education for their children, all parents. We further believe that children deserve a quality education that promotes success. Evidently, the current system is not working. I'm hoping that we can all agree that there is some need for change. My dad used to tell me when I was a kid, he said the most dangerous man in the world is a man who has a problem and doesn't admit that there's a problem. I concur with Curtis Johnson that the issue is going to rest with the board to make the right decision. Will the charter school answer all the questions? No. We've chosen to make an investment, and not only myself, but there are, I don't know, according to this, some 100+ people that are registered or pre-registered for the school. There are hundreds of signatures that have been given. According to this document, it says that they have met all of the requirements that the board has put forth. So then to reject the proposal that meets all of the requirements legally would be somewhat egregious. It would be purposeful, and it would have some level of prejudgment. For if the law is the law and Lady Justice is blind, then you make your decisions based on facts. And if the facts are that this application meets the requirements of the state, the facts are the facts, as it was said earlier. Interestingly enough, I feel a little deceived, though, because we were told initially that only a few children were registered for the school, but according to the document in front of me, it was 80+. And it was said at the last time that this application was heard. So I feel a little deceived. We were told that STEM is available to all of the kids in the district, and when I look at this through, I guess, a process that they had to go through to acquire the information, it's only available to some kids in high school who are AP or in a specific program. According to this document, there's only 69 students in there, and that's represented, so out of 9,000, 69 students. So if a school comes forth to present STEM, and the word is that STEM is available to everybody, but there's only 69 students in the program, something's wrong. There's some untruth happening here. So I'm concerned that we have not been given the proper information. I'm concerned. I believe 2 administrators stood up and submitted a document that said STEM was available. The differentiation between Strong Foundations and Eastern Area School District is that STEM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, is going to be made available at this school to every child. Eastern Area School District can't say that. Thank you very much.
We have 2 more speakers before we wrap up public comment.
Good evening. Oops. Good evening. My name is Kristen Sanford Bernhardt. I am a taxpayer, resident, and the mother of 2 children in the district. I also happen to have a PhD in engineering. I'm a licensed professional engineer, and I'm an engineering faculty member. So issues of STEM education and preparation are very near and dear to my heart. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. STEAM adds the arts to that. So I believe that every child in the school district is offered the opportunity to take courses in science, in mathematics, in the arts, perhaps not in engineering, but colleges, I teach at Lafayette, has relatively high entry requirements. We don't require that students have had any engineering experience before they come to us. I do not question the sincerity of everyone in this room wanting what is best for their own children and believing that they have the best interest of the district in heart. I think we disagree on how to best achieve that. If, in fact, the district is in a crisis in terms of low-income students of certain backgrounds, students of certain races having differential achievements, then that's certainly something the district should be addressing, and it should be addressing it for all of those students, not just the 270 who would be admitted to the charter school. It's my understanding that one of the requirements that the board can look at in addressing a charter school application is programmatic distinction from the programs that the district already offers. And again, the student offers science, math, art, opportunities to all students from my understanding. I urge the board to preserve and enhance those opportunities for all students, not just a few. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll hear from our last speaker this evening.
Thank you. I guess I'm pulling up the rear, putting a bookend on everything. For myself, I don't really have an opinion as far as charter schools. I know in some cases they're very good, in other cases they're not.
I'm sorry, sir. Can you state your name, please?
Oh, sorry. John Stanley. I'm from Palmer.
Thank you.
Closer? Okay. And I don't really have an opinion either way, but from my understanding is that, as the last speaker said, if the school district already offers these programs, perhaps they do need to be strengthened, expanded throughout the rest of the school district, and maybe that's something that can be done through a 5 or 10-year plan, particularly once you get over some of the financial difficulties. I did have a look at some of their curriculum, and it looks very interesting, particularly the foreign language aspect of it, which I would actually like to see more here. But again, I would personally like most of this to be done within the school district rather than relying on an outside school that would require a lottery, and some students get it, other students don't, to try to bring it in through the school district somehow, rather than having an outside group provided. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I want to thank everybody who spoke today. We're going to move to number 9, executive session report. Pardon me. I want to go to 8 first. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the January 24th, 2014 meeting as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 9, executive session report. On the 24th, we had an executive session regarding negotiations, personnel, legal matters. The 24th, personnel matters again. We had 2. Can I have a motion to accept? Second? Second. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Moving on to 10, personnel. If there's no objections, can I have a motion to accept 10, letters A through and including S, stopping at S? Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 10, letter T, is an addendum that we added at the beginning of this meeting. The appointment of assistant to the superintendent. Yes, if you can enlighten the public.
Sure. I presented to the board several days ago a proposal that included the appointment of someone in my cabinet at the assistant to the superintendent level. That proposal was given to the board in an effort to try to facilitate communication back and forth, up and down throughout a system of 9,000 students and hundreds of employees. It was also an attempt to make sure that when I'm not present, there's someone else who can sit in this chair and attempt to guide the board and our other administrators in the business of the school district. And it should be no secret that the district has been trying to upgrade its safety and security measures throughout, and with that will come some extra supervisory responsibilities. And I have asked Alyssa Mealy, our Director of Personnel, she would serve in that capacity, and This is at no cost to the school system, unfortunately at a cost to her of additional time and responsibility, but given the circumstances, she was willing to do this. So I proposed this idea to the board in an effort to try to increase, as I said, communication and accountability across the school district, and to try to get another level of authority inserted in the structure of the school district. So that's what this motion is. It's not going to cost the district anything, and we will have the advantage of additional responsibilities from her.
Thank you, Mr. Reinhardt. Regarding number 10, letter T, can I have a motion? Second. Discussion?
Yes, I have a couple questions. John, you indicated that the salary remains where it's at today. This is, even though there's a new job description, which I have not read, it just came out today, that's not being included as part of Act 93?
At this time, it's what I would consider to be an additional set of responsibilities for an already existing position in Act 93.
But there is a new job description.
Yeah, well, there's a job description that has additional responsibilities to it. So if you, I guess it's a matter of whether you want to say it's new, whether it's, you know, a modified job description. I'd say it's modified.
Okay, with a different title, assistant to the superintendent.
Yes.
Okay. As you look at this, I know one of our discussions a couple years ago, at the time you were being appointed and everything, also had to do with what is the timing then that you're looking at for starting the search and everything for the assistant superintendent as we move forward?
Well, I'm not sure that that's my responsibility. That's really your responsibility as a board to determine what your timing is and how you want to proceed with that. I don't see this as anything that's going to matter in that particular case at all.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, there's a motion and a second on the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Did you get two? We have two. The motion passes. Congratulations and thank you, Ms. Amelie. Number 11, academics. If there's no objections, I'd like to take letters A through and including S. Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
There's a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Finance, number 12. If there's no objections, I would like to take letter A down to, including, and stopping at letter G. Can I have a motion? Motion. Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Can you just have conversation on the treasurer's report?
Sure. Would you like to start it?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention and perhaps inquire as to how we move forward when we look at the number 4, athletics, and the cost that it is. We looked at the year end and how much all the sports brought in versus how much we predicted in our budget and everything. And as we move forward, I'm just asking if we try to look at how we can pay for an opportunity that's extremely important to all of us, that students have the opportunity to play sports and learn about sportsmanship and how to work as a team on many different levels. How we can move forward with that and hopefully eliminate the burden, or somewhat eliminate or help the burden that we have on the budget as far as how it goes toward or against our academics. We've talked about pay to play, things like that. So I'm asking that maybe we as a board start brainstorming how we can do that now that we have number 4, athletics shows today that there is a pretty big discrepancy with some of the sports as far as what was predicted and budgeted and what actually costs at the end of the year. So based on that, if we could start brainstorming how we can go forward and perhaps look at other ways to get funding.
All right. For athletics. Okay, absolutely. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, there's a motion and a second on the floor to approve finance, letters A through and including and stopping at G. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Letter H, food service agreement.
Make a motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Just one, Ms. Ellison's a no. Miscellaneous. Letter A, appointment of a Foundation for Eastern Schools Board of Representatives. Mr. Buscemi, we discussed this, correct? Yes. I thought so. I just wasn't 100% sure. Can I have a motion to appoint Mr. Buscemi to serve as school board representative / liaison on the Foundation for the Eastern School Board?
So move.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Mr. Buscemi, and thank you. Thank you. Appointment of voting delegate for the PSBA Delegate Assembly meeting. Is there any volunteers who would like to be appointed? Mr. Vanderberg? We're looking for one, right? Two?
Well, we are allowed to have, I think it's up to 3.
Okay.
With the number of seats we have in our district, the size of our district. So I think it depends on how much the board wants to put out for attendees.
Well, that's the discussion we have right now. What did we do last year?
We paid for one,
Right.
but I believe for the voting delegates, Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the voting day, that's a freebie day. It's only for the rest of the conference.
Yeah, as long as you don't go to any of the conferences that are happening that day. If you just go to the legislative portion of it.
Mr. Vanderberg, were you planning on going to any of the conferences or going to the legislative portion?
I'll vote.
Just a vote? All right.
Frank, right now you could put me down as well. I would go.
All right. Anyone else?
I would like to go.
Are you looking to go to conference or just for the
If
vote?
I go to anything else, I will pay for it. But I would go to vote for the legislative portion of it.
Okay. So can I have a motion to appoint Mr. Vanderberg, Ms. Ellison, and Mr. Fainel to the conference with the intention of voting? Motion. Second. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you, guys. Okay, letter C, the Tetra Tech Professional Services Contract. Can I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second? Second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Letter D, the Strong Foundation Charter School. At this time, our solicitor, Ms. Collins, may I please have your recommendation to the board?
Could I just, Mr. President, could I just offer a comment before we start this, before she makes the recommendation? Because, I appreciated hearing everyone's point of view on the Strong Foundation's charter and listened to everyone who had some praise and some criticism of what we're doing and how we're doing it here in Easton. The one thing that bothered me most, perhaps, was a comment from Pastor Davis, and that was, and maybe I was wrong, maybe I'm wrong in my interpretation, but you somewhat implied that a rejection would have a sinister motive behind it, and that it wouldn't be based upon the requirements, if you will, of the Commonwealth and of the charge that this board has and our administration has of looking at charter school applications. And I want you to know and understand that none of us would carry out that mission with anything other than the law in mind and our interpretation of the law. Now, it may not, how we interpret what is appropriate and inappropriate in application may differ between us, but I will assure you that there is nothing sinister behind any rejection of this charter school application. But in fact, this district and other districts around the Commonwealth are charged with the responsibility by law to oversee the application process, as you well know. Quite honestly, that is the only piece of oversight that I think exists in this whole business, which is, to many critics, troublesome, to say the least, because once the application is approved, charter schools are basically on their own to do with what they see fit in terms of curriculum and in terms of finances. And that oversight, as I'm sure you're aware, is a deep criticism of the process. It's also a request on the part of critics of our legislators to review this law, make sure that you include more oversight, because there are taxpayers' dollars that are being funneled off and placed into these new institutions, and there is no taxpayer oversight. And so my point is that the responsibility that we have to oversee the process of approving or disapproving applications is very, very important to not only those students who attend charter schools, but also to the rest of us who are in charge of finances and the education program throughout the rest of the district. So I want to make that clear, if I can, or at least have a chance to address that. And I would like to assure those individuals who have advocated for the charter and those who sit and don't advocate that this was done with the sole purpose of addressing what was required by the legislation that created this process. And we looked at this application as we would look at our own curriculum in terms of what is required by the Easton School District and all other school districts at this time to offer the students who are attending our schools. So that's the lens through which we looked at this application. And I want you to understand that there are requirements that have to be made by, that we've had to make in terms of changing our program to adapt to the new requirements set forth by the Commonwealth. And there is no doubt that any proposed charter in this school district will have to abide by those same standards. And to do anything less would be unconscionable to both the students who attend the charter and those who don't attend. So I just want to try to clarify that, because I don't want you to think that a negative response is generated by an overwhelming sense that, well, charters are bad, because that's just not the case. And I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Mr. Reinhardt.
That's it.
No, we don't go back and forth. You commented, he commented. We're going to move on now with the rest of the meeting. At this time, I'm going to ask our solicitor's recommendation. From there, I'm going to ask the board to either accept or deny whatever the recommendation may be. Ms. Collins?
Thank you, Mr. President. The solicitor's office has undertaken a thoughtful, The Solicitor's Office has undertaken a thoughtful and careful review of the Strong Foundation Charter Schools revised application, including the proposed programming that was submitted along with the application as the charter school's intended curriculum. After a thorough review, the Solicitor's Office has concluded that the curriculum does not comply with even the most foundational Common Core standards, particularly for K through 8, which are the grades that the charter school plans to focus on at its inception. Therefore, under the charter school law, we believe that this application does not meet the requirements, and we recommend a denial based upon legal insufficiency.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. Ms. Collins, just one question. Before we came into the meeting, you gave us a list, some bullets of reasons your firm, our solicitor's office, is requesting we deny the charter. And our administrators. Is this correct? That's what this is?
Yes, Mr. President. That list of bullet points reflects the proposed resolution that was submitted to the board.
All right. No matter how the vote goes next, I'm going to speak to the public. Thank you. Sorry. I have one. Regardless to how the vote goes next, we have enough copies of the reasons why our solicitor has made that recommendation, and they're available for the press, the public, anybody who would like to review those. At this time, letter D, subsection B, the recommendation, and I'm looking for a motion, is to adopt the resolution to deny the revised Strong Foundations Charter School application. At this time, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Can I have a second? Can I have a discussion?
Before we continue, will you clarify which way each vote goes?
Yes is a yes is to deny. All right. There is a motion, a second on the floor. I will ask for a roll call vote. However, is there any more discussion before we go to the vote?
I was just going to say how I was going to vote.
Well, you can just vote. We'll get it when you vote.
And then say that. Okay.
I mean, you could tell us if you have any discussion, but as far as how you're going to vote, you can wait till we ask for it.
Okay. And why? Yeah. Okay.
Is there any other discussion before the vote, Mr. Vandenberg?
Yeah, I do have something that I would like to say. Throughout the course of the night, we've heard lots of different discussion about the charter, about the process, about what the state has put in front of us on our end, board side, and on the end of the operating school, or looking to be operating school. So if it is, admissible by the board, I would like to ask the representatives from Strong Foundations to approach the podium here, and maybe clarify some of the things that were kind of tossed back and forth by what was seemingly opposing sides. We've got a group that says we've got private corporations funding a charter school. We've got another side that says we don't.
Mr. Vandenberg,
yes.
It's the recommendation of our solicitor that we do not do that because they have not prepared, nor have the other side prepared to rebut. In addition, the statement you just made about whether it's accepting everybody or whether it's a lottery or something, I don't know if that needs to be discussed, because as I look at the reasons that our solicitors are giving us to deny, that's not in here. It's not mentioned about their selection process, if there is one. It's not mentioned about race or money or anything of that nature. So to discuss that, I don't feel.
I think that my intention was more to bring clarity to the public here, rather than to going off that way.
The charter law is pretty clear in this situation. I don't know if this thing is on. That it's essentially it's a public school. It's pretty much first come, first serve until they're maxed out. At which point there's a lottery that would kick in for if there's more applicants than there is space. Then there's a lottery that applies.
Okay,
that's right.
Is there any other discussion? Anyone else have a comment?
I have a comment, Mr. President.
Yes.
Before the vote comes down, I want to just make sure that there's people in the room that have financial, knows numbers, and when you do numbers, numbers don't lie. There's obvious a problem with, it's not a race thing, it's not a money thing, it's a educational thing throughout our school district that needs to be addressed. And we as a board has to come up with a solution on how to handle that crisis. What wasn't discussed is how many children are leaving the school district to private schools that they're being paid for. So we're losing top quality students to other schools that could be right on our football fields, on our wrestling mats, and on our basketball courts, and our band, and our language programs. We're losing children because the system is failing. So we need to come up with a plan to make that happen.
Thank you, Mr. Obey. Is there any other comments? Seeing none, there's a motion and a second on the floor to accept the solicitor's resolution to deny the revised Strong Foundations charter school application. A yes vote would in fact deny their application. A no vote would accept their application and not deny it. No other discussions. We're going to do a roll call vote. Ms. Schaefer?
Mr. Buscemi?
Yes.
Mr. Fainal?
Yes.
Mrs. Ellison?
Yes.
Mr. Monahan?
Yes.
Mr. Obey?
No.
Ms. Price?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Vanderberg?
No.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Yes.
7 yes, 2 no.
The motion carries and the Strong Foundations revised application has failed. Number 14, public to be heard on non-agenda items only.
May I allowed to speak again since it's on the non-agenda item?
Non-agenda items, yes.
So I'll just take a minute of your time. Again, I'm Kristen Sanford Bernhardt. I'm a parent, and I just wanted to bring to the board's attention the phenomenal job that the music department did with the 5th and 6th grade band camp 2 weeks ago. My understanding is it's the first time that they had such a program. My son attended. It was staffed not only by the elementary school, middle school, and high school music teachers, but also by a number of our high school students who were role models for the younger children, and it was really a phenomenal experience. And so I just wanted to publicly commend them for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on non-agenda items?
It's good to be back. I do want to clarify something, non-agenda. One of the challenges I think that Eastern Area School District has historically had or has is its inability to find equity and ensure that all of the children across the board are receiving a quality education. And I think that the numbers speak to that. I think that there is no denial that there is a significant achievement gap in the Eastern Area School District. When I think of Cheston School that sits less than 3 minutes away from the church where I serve at, and I think of it as it relates to the proficiency of the children within that school, what we realize is that that school is suffering significantly. And I understand that the principal that is currently there will be moving and the new principal will be going. But the question that I have that really concerns me is that we're moving a new principal into that school, but the prior principal did not have an assistant principal. And how can we have a significantly underperforming school in one of our poorest neighborhoods and have a principal there without the support of an assistant principal? Primarily. Secondarily, if it is in one of our poorest neighborhoods, which we all agree that it is, and it is the most underperforming school, I know it's in the bottom 2, and it is an elementary school, what is the action plan to bring some resolution, to bring some support, to help this school properly educate the children that are within that school? And I think that we can consistently walk across the district and identify those schools that are in poor neighborhoods or poorer neighborhoods than some of the others, and the achievement gap is the achievement gap, right? And these numbers are not lying. The question is, I think sometimes as board members, you just see them as statistics. But I deal with them in the prison. I serve as a chaplain part-time in the prison. I deal with them in the church. I deal with them counseling. The question is, where is the action plan? Where is the effort to address these kids that are falling through the gaps? Kindergarten, first, second, third grade. I think you're all aware that if a child is not reading on grade level by the time he's in third grade, he pretty much never digs himself out of that hole. We cannot just see them as numbers. We just cannot see them as, let's throw them in special ed and get some more money for them. We have to make sure that we're focusing on how we're going to build these children. Our church sits on the south side. We were committed and still are committed to working with the district, partnering in any way that we can to try to make a difference. I can say as a pastor, I've been focused on a lot of other things over the last 8 or 9 years. With the passing of my father and having to take over a church. We represent 1,500 members here in Easton and 250 up in the Poconos. So it's significant work, and I've been very engaged in that. We built a Nehemiah House that's a transitional home for men. We do a homeless shelter that is for the homeless. We have a food pantry that serves those folks in our community that are hungry. And we've focused on a lot of other things, but the thing that we've missed is education. And I'm committing to you as a community stakeholder on the south side that we can sit down. And there were some meetings prior. I was in seminary, wasn't able to make the meetings. But I'm committing to you that my face will be a regular face that you see. And it will be a regular face that you see to be able to challenge some of the things that are happening within the district, and our children are falling through the cracks. And when I say our children, and I think Kurtz said it best, it's not black children, it's not white children, it's poor children. And poor doesn't discriminate. But what we did a few years ago, if you remember, we went back to community schools, right? Neighborhood schools. You guys were not on the board when that happened. Essentially, what we did was segregate the schools again. Because we say, kids that live on the south side, you go to Chester. We're not going to take you out to Palmer. We're not going to take you out to Forks. We're going to relegate you to your neighborhood. Prior to that, Cheston was a school that was heralded throughout the state because of its achievements. But after we went back to community schools, what we're saying, we're putting all the little black kids over here and poor kids and Hispanic kids in Cheston, and all of the mixed, different individuals will go out to Palmer and Forks. We have to do something. And we have to do something in a way that's going to bring some real change, some real equity to this conversation. Secondarily, I will say that I do believe diversifying the teacher pool will help bring some representation to the African American and Hispanic kids in the school. I was surprised to find out that we employ 1,100 teachers, but less than 2% of that are African Americans, and that there are more African American janitors than there are teachers. What does that say to a little black kid who goes into a school, into a classroom? I can be a janitor, but I shouldn't aspire to be a teacher? Come on, something's really wrong. So I'm looking forward to the partnership, and I'm hoping that we can work together in the future to maybe bring some equity to the school district. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pastor, just to answer your question, the new principal who's coming into Cheston was actually the assistant principal at Cheston. That principal was moved to be the head principal at the academy. Did a wonderful job at both places. He's now coming back to Cheston. So he's very familiar with the school. He worked as a vice principal under Ms. Piazza, and now he's going to take over the school.
Will he have an assistant principal?
Probably not. And that is because the financial situations. But we're going to move on to, no, it's not a discussion, no, Pastor. We're going to move on to the next speaker. It makes sense.
I just want to personally apologize to the Vice President.
Thank you, sir.
And then also I have a comment. I'm a little... Yeah, I'm sorry. Is it on? I'm just a little confused here because we had an open discussion about the charter school, and then after the discussion, or after the public... I understand. And then after the public was allowed to speak what they thought, then you came up and told everybody what the vote was going to be about. And I don't believe anybody in the room was able to see the recommendations beforehand. I know I didn't have a copy of it. But I would definitely like to get a copy of it right now.
Please take one before you go to your seat. I hope everybody's not going to grab one in the middle of the meeting. I hope we can wait till the end, possibly. Basically. All right, we'll hold the meeting so people can grab copies.
Yeah, should I? I thought people would like to know what it means.
Say so.
Okay.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding public comment at this time? Non-agenda items.
Yeah, maybe not.
Actually, the thing is you guys did a wonderful thing coming to some of our schools. You came over to Paxanosa, and I think it was wonderful to see the board come there. I know that turnout was not very high, which is, I think, unfortunate, but I hope that as you plan your schedule this year, that maybe you guys will consider doing that again. I think one of the things, we have a lot of criticisms of you all tonight, and a lot of questions, and I think that's the place to maybe start some of these conversations, is for people to turn out and actually come to some of these meetings. And I'm hoping that maybe if you do some of them in the community again, as you've done this past year, that maybe it'll encourage folks to come out. So, just putting that out there, maybe if you could try to do that again, maybe we can spread the word a little bit better, get more people to come, because it was good seeing you, and, thank you for doing that, and I hope you come back. Thank you.
I just wanted to take a minute to say, as a very proud educator in the Easton Area School District, I was a little taken back by the judgments that were made this evening, but I did want to take a moment to welcome the kindergarten class of 2015 that will be joining us. They'll be graduating from kindergarten in 2015, and there's been a lot of judgments made about those kids, and they've yet to set foot into a school to be educated. So welcome.
Thank you.
My name here?
Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Tracy Griffin. I'm a resident of Forks Township, and I wanted to talk and just say two things. One is I wanted to plant a seed when we talk about charter schools. A good friend of mine mentioned to me that the origin, and this may not be true, but maybe this can plant a seed to have you think, that the origin of charter schools was to create a charter school so that it can be an experiment. And if that experiment worked, you can take that model and put it into the public school system. So maybe that's something that you can think about, because maybe it's not affecting the 200 students. Initially, it'll affect the 200 students, but later on, you can affect the entire school system. And I just wanted to talk to Strong Foundation. I have, and I want to talk to just the fact of Strong Foundation. I have two kids that went through the Easton School District.
This is non-agenda items. The Strong Foundation and the charter were on the agenda.
Okay.
So it's not the time to discuss that.
Okay. Let me talk to Strong Foundation. I'm not talking about the Strong Foundation schools, but I'm talking to a Strong Foundation. Okay? I have two kids that went through the school system, the Easton School District. My daughter started off at Montessori. Okay? After she left Montessori, we put her in Easton Catholic, and we were able to afford that. We put her in Easton Catholic. Then she was able to go into the Easton School District. We moved out of town. We moved to Rochester, New York for 3 years, and then we came back into the school district. My daughter went through the school. She was very active, very active child. Because of that strong foundation, I believe that we put in her through Montessori and through Easton Catholic. Then she came into the Easton School District. She's a graduate of Penn State. She's also currently a charter school teacher right now in Atlanta, Georgia. And she's accepted to Columbia. But I think, and she's going to come back after she finishes Columbia, and she's going to be a principal of a charter school. She is a hard worker and very much believes in it. But I wanted to make sure that I stress the importance of a strong foundation. And what we're trying to do here with Strong Foundation is create a strong foundation for our children. And I just wanted to plant that seed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is a non-agenda item, but I just want to speak to the process that was held here.
today. This is a very divisive topic, I understand. But I think what bothered me the most sitting there was, no disrespect to the solicitor's office. I think they did their job. But I'm sitting there and I'm thinking that this was a decision. I don't know how the process is supposed to work, but it seemed like a decision was made prior to getting here. And no, just a process. Now, I don't want to talk about that. And no disrespect to the superintendent, but your preamble before the decision was made painted a picture that you had made your minds up already. So I'm just stating again, sitting there, this is my first board meeting, and I'm sitting there going, I don't understand the process. Again, I know the recommendation, but your preamble painted a picture that the minds were made up already. Please don't take this the wrong way if it's denied. So again, it's just my observation. I could be wrong, but sitting there for the first time, that's the impression that I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me address the process quickly. There were, and anybody on this board can object and tell me if I'm wrong, this board has not discussed with each other that I know of as a board. Now, if board members spoke individually on their own, I have no knowledge of that or no control of that. In fact, I sent a message out to the entire board and said there will be no opinions from any board member in executive session. Please hold all your opinions until we get into the public, because I knew whichever way a vote went, yes or no, the other side was, going to bring what you set up, and it looked like it was set up and this and that. And every board member can attest, I sent that email out the other day, so that wouldn't happen. Mr. Reinhardt spoke today, and I see how you can come to that understanding. Mr. Reinhardt, along with the solicitor's office, formulated their rejection of this, their what's the word I'm looking for? Their evaluation, their opinion. The first time the board heard of their opinion, again, ask any board member here, from our administrator or our solicitor's office, was an executive session. There was no discussion. Their recommendation came to us. They gave us this paper, told us here's the reasons why, and there were no, and as the president, I'm telling you, I would not allow, and nobody tried to give their opinion, sway the decision, make any discussion. I told everyone it will be done in public. There was nothing done prior to this. Everybody formulated their own opinion to the best of my knowledge. Again, if people spoke, if people met, somewhere else with another group Thursday, maybe they talked about it. We didn't as a group. We did this, we made sure it was above board and everything that was discussed was done publicly. Now, we all have personal opinions on charters, as I do. That has nothing to do with what was done here tonight. The recommendation came from our administration and our solicitors. It's on this paper. And that's what the board took into consideration tonight. We heard about it before we came out, and there was absolutely no discussion on it until we came out here. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at it, there wasn't much discussion out here, and that's, based on the board. So I just want to make sure, of course, the administrator, the head administrator, knew what the recommendation was going to be. Our solicitor knew what the recommendation was going to be. They formulated it. We didn't hear about it until we came into executive session. Yes, Ms. Price.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention is that each of us did come up with our own things. I have my notes here from reading the whole book. I kept it private. And I actually came up with my vote for one of these reasons, actually. I am a teacher, and I did not feel that it had, it was a curriculum guide reason. As a curricular reason. And so everyone had their own reason for approving or denying, but we did not talk about it at all.
Are we allowed to do those?
If they're personal reasons, I don't know.
I just want to clarify one thing that Mr. Pinnabone said. Yes, we did hear about this in executive session, but it was less than 5 minutes before we started the meeting. It was basically, here's the recommendation from the solicitor's office, and then we came out here to the meeting. So it's not like we had it for, an hour in there. It was right before we started. No discussion.
We didn't want to. We could discuss in private certain things. I made it clear, and I will give anybody that email, I will not allow it to be discussed at all in executive session, even if we're legally allowed to, because I knew somewhere it was going to come up from either side that this was, put together prior to. So I made sure no board member voiced their opinion or discussed it privately. The opportunity was given. Anybody on the board can discuss or make their opinions felt publicly so everybody can hear it.
So the only reason is what's here on paper?
That's the recommendation from our solicitor's office. Other board members might have their own opinions.
This document is going to happen.
That's a summary. That's a summary. It's a summary of it. There is a more formal notice. That's a public document,
It's a public document, yes.
There's a more formal notice with those reasons spelled out, and that's a public document, as soon as it's executed. Right.
If I could just ask a question of our solicitor, am I right in saying that the district has a statutory responsibility to review the application? Am I right?
Of course, absolutely.
This is the application, folks, right here. And, there's a lot of work went into that to create it, and I respect that. But it takes a lot of work to review it. And there was no way that we could have or should have come to this meeting without having an opportunity as administrators to sit down and review the document and see obviously what it contained. We had to go through this. And yes, there was no question that we sat with, as a group, and we sat with our solicitor and said, here are some shortcomings that we see, here are some strengths. You tell us what you think, because you know the law better than we do and what's acceptable in terms of Department of Education. I would never deny that we wouldn't have done this ahead of time before this evening. So
but please be clear, when you say we sat with, you mean the administration
and the solicitors, not the board. I would never want any of you to think that we could have reviewed this quickly or even efficiently without spending time well ahead of this meeting tonight. So the answer to that observation, you're right on target. I did say that, but I was responding to Pastor Davis, trying to assure him that our objections were based on what we thought were required by the law and what was evidenced in the curriculum submitted. There's no other motives for us to do anything differently. So, yeah.
So, excuse my ignorance.
So if you have to come up, sign in, and you could make your comment. I apologize. You're signed in. Just
John Best.
Thank you.
Just for my own understanding of the process. So the recommendation was really driving this. So in other words, whatever would have been said here tonight wouldn't have had any weight.
Not necessarily, because I have my own opinion.
Right.
That's what the solicitor came up with. The solicitor said this is their recommendation. Now, as I mentioned to every board member before we came out, your vote is your vote.
Right.
We're not bound to vote the way our solicitor asked us to.
Right. Okay.
We can go against our solicitor, we can go with our solicitor, and I mentioned that to every board member before we came out.
Okay.
So
clarity made. Thank you.
Thank you.
You knew there was a negative before you came to the table.
I had no idea.
No.
Oh, yes, we knew from her that her recommendation was no.
The recommendation was solicitor.
From the solicitor, yes.
Yeah.
We found out at 6:55, we came out at 7.
Yes, that's correct.
One last question. Did everybody at least read the application?
Excuse me, that's
One
why.
thing I was going to address, I mean, I brought mine tonight just in case we had more questions or more deliberation regarding it in the meeting itself.
I have my book too.
Yeah, we all went through our material and came to a conclusion. I came to a conclusion before I came tonight as to what my thoughts were about how we were going to move forward and how best to go forward with the district. Her recommendation came in, like we heard, 5 minutes before we came out here, what her recommendation was, but I absolutely had already gone through.
Oh, yes. You have to read it before you take a vote.
All right. Thank you. Before we finish up, I just want to piggyback on some things that were said, more importantly, at the end of the meeting. Pastor Phil and his willingness to help and partner with the district. We know that. I know that. I was on the other side, Pastor Phil, with you for a number of years, trying to come up with ways to there's no denying an achievement gap. There's no denying that we can do better. There's no industry in the country that can't do better. I'm from Southside. I'm still there. My son's there. My son comes to school here. We look forward to a partnership. Unfortunately, we had a lot of meetings and we never had anything come to us as ways that, as a district, as ways that we can do better. It was always conversation, never really anything solid. Myself and Pastor Phil spoke about that. Unfortunately, Pastor Phil has been very busy and he wasn't really hands-on at the time. He made the comment to me recently that he was more involved and other things, have finished. The board, the entire board, and the administration are open for that. Instead of looking at other ways to beat the public school system, we can all work together. When we heard from the first gentleman from the Strong Foundation, and he mentioned that you do this for free and this and that, and you just want to help, we do the same thing. I have a job, I volunteer, I do this, I do that, everybody else here does. We do this to try to help and give back. We don't get paid either. We also don't have all the answers. So if people from the public and our coalition can attest, they asked to put a coalition together to help come up with solutions to fix our financial problem. Absolutely, board members sat in on it. We took some advice they gave us, it worked, some didn't, some we already looked at. The same goes for anybody else. It doesn't matter if, what your race is, where you live. If you have a solution or idea, a legitimate idea that's going to help all the students, not a small portion, if we can make it happen, we'll make it happen. Me personally, I got a 4-year term. When I'm done, I'm done. I don't plan on being a politician. I don't plan on running for the school board again. I'm done. I'm going back to Southside. And I wish to be left alone at that point. But until then, my goal is to help the community. And no one in here that knows me can say that I'm not 100% for the kids in Southside and for the kids in West Ward. That's where I am. That's where I'm from. I know Pastor Phil's motives. I spent plenty of nights as a kid on his couch because my mother wouldn't let me in her house. So I understand his motives. And I don't believe it's malicious or anything of that nature. Unfortunately, we both and we all have a goal in mind. I think we all share that goal. But we have different ways that we feel we can get there. So the door is open. I say let's start scheduling meetings tomorrow and let's brainstorm and find ways that we can strengthen our school district, all of our students, and in doing so, our community. Thank you. At this time, is there any other business from board members? Hearing none, can I have a motion to adjourn? So moved. Can I have a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?